Let me show these suckers how to ball out here. Oh, man, let's get this together here. Oh, layup. Oh, shot. Oh, three. Oh, it's like Brick City out here. Mid-range. Oh, my goodness. I can't buy a bucket out here. I missed the whole damn basket. Oh, my goodness. What's going on, man? My game is looking trash. Oh, here we go. Black Power Media shirt. Now we cooking. Trees. I'm taking on three of y'all with these right here. Between the legs. Oh, my goodness. Behind the back. Layup. Oh, and did he just do a reverse? He in beast mode out here. I ain't got to look. It's falling. Oh, my goodness. This guy is going 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Nice. Black Power Media, baby. Nice. Empower yourself. Go get you some of that Black Power Media again. Right here, blackpowermedia.org. Yeah.
You got to earn your liberation.
All right. Yeah. What's up, world? Welcome to another edition of Earn Your Liberation right here on Black Power Media. Brother Diallo, Geechee Y'all, Jared Ball in the building. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's going on, remixers? Like, share, subscribe. Put this in your socials. Don't be stingy. Let folks know what's going on. We're in the building. Big show today. A lot to get into. And if I do have something that's not on the run sheet, fellas, that I would like to squeeze in a couple minutes, if we could just get it out the gate, out the top, because I've been getting some messages here and there, and I just wanted to come out the gate and just tell everybody in the chat, everywhere else.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
But there's been this, I know, in solidarity with the Palestinians and all this, a couple people have been sending me messages about previous discussions around Afropessimism, and I've been seeing people's comments here or there, indirect, this and that. So I just wanted to share this out the gate. We don't have to deal with it if we don't want or don't have time, but I just wanted to share this as a reminder and invite people to follow up, and we can always come back to it. But just this right here.
I hear you. But in a recent interview I did with Nora Erekat, the Palestinian lawyer and activist, she had put me she put me up on an interview that she had done with Mark Lamont Hill, where our interview for some years ago, one of them, a transcript of them, was used as a way to discredit Afropessimism and to say that Afropessimism encourages a lack of solidarity. And in that excerpted piece, you were saying, and I don't know, the transcript rang true to my memory, at least. What you were basically saying is that, listen, Palestinians will work with them and we'll struggle with them, but after we get them free from Israel, we're going to have to check them on their anti-blackness. And I said, I agreed. But this was extrapolated to mean that there can be no solidarity. And I've heard this many times. People have said this to me a lot. And I've always said, but I don't get that from your work. Now, it is true I don't understand everything, including your latest book. I'm not going to claim to understand it all. We'll get to that in a minute. But so I wanted to really just start right there. Can you just clarify, before we get into the depth as much as possible of of the theory? Is your argument intending to discourage Black people from struggling at all, from appreciating their radical political histories? And are you saying that there should be no solidarity with other folks? Because to the point about Lewis Gordon, since then I have read a good number of the critics, and on these issues, I don't understand or agree with what they're saying in terms of how they interpret your work. But anyway, so let's just start there. Are you saying any of that in your work, intending to at least?
Absolutely not. However, I do understand how it could be perceived as my having said that, because most people come at a unequivocally Black cry and an unapologetically Black analysis of everyone else. In other words, people experience us looking at them analytically as an assault on them. And so what happens is that Afropessimism is an analytic interpretation of everyone else's capacity. I'll repeat that, an analytic interpretation of everyone else's capacity.
Now listen, that's called my boy. You know nothing about that.
All right, I got my stuff off there. I appreciate you. We can come back to it and discuss as much as little as we want, but I just wanted to remind everybody of that. And if I could, just one more interruptive piece, because I know I missed this off the top, but we do have to wish Geechee happy birthday. Happy birthday, brother. Welcome to the Over 40 Club.
Appreciate
Happy
it.
birthday, Geechee.
Thank you, and thank you everybody in the chat too. Appreciate it.
But it's, yeah, not that it's going to go.
Don't turn up too much.
Nah, I'm already I'm from the South, and we learn how to take naps, so I'm already prepared for the freaking naps.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, yeah. Very well.
Oh, good, good. I don't hear myself sometimes. Can I correct something?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I don't know. To me, semantics are very important. And I think we throw some words around way too loosely without fully allowing those words their full respect. When you have, where you were talking about solidarity or lack thereof, or an allyship, when you can't have imbalanced solidarity or solidarity where one group is committed at a level that the other group isn't. I think what we often describe as servitude, and we call it solidarity, when Black people step up and are expected to quell our concerns or to reduce ourselves in order to be accommodated or to be able to share spaces with other groups. So that's not solidarity, that's servitude. If somebody says, well, you know, you can't speak to your people's interests, your people's history, the impacts on your people, what your people should put in or what your people should seek to extract, and if any way they try to police your position, that they want servitude from Black people, not solidarity, number one. And number two, where you talked about after we could talk about Palestinian racism, which is very real within Palestine and within the Palestinian diaspora from Latin America to Detroit, where Palestine have treated African Palestinians as second class, or really third or fourth class citizens, since Palestine's second class citizens in their own country. There's something where I quote Erica in saying, you can't cry freedom with your foot on someone else's neck. So I don't believe in this after bullshit. After you get free, we're going to talk about what you do to us. I think it is the treatment of Black people is primary. It comes first. And anytime somebody's talking about Black concerns coming after any motherfucking thing, that is not solidarity. That is servitude, which is what they seek from us. And we have too long a history. Whether it's the Irish, whether it is even Jewish people in the U.S. during the overt expressions of anti-Semitism that are very prevalent with that throughout U.S. history. Ain't no after when it comes to Black people. Black first, race first, and we need to start calling that servitude, not allyship or solidarity, but they're seeking servitude, which we should reject off top.
So real quick, in terms of servitude, allyship, solidarity, do y'all think it's transactional? And what if and what when we are in solidarity with another group for the sake of African people? So for example, we had like this small online back and forth about African people supporting Asian people in Philadelphia around the stadium being built and how it impacts African people throughout Philadelphia. So showing up to make sure that the stadium don't get built looks like solidarity. Would you say that's solidarity or servitude or whatever, when even if Asian people, which they have been, even if they're not supporting us in certain struggles, us making sure that that stadium is not built is beneficial for a large portion of African people. So would you call that solidarity, or how would you term that?
Well, I'm not. Well, one, I think, to your point, Diallo, about semantics, when we hear things like, at least as I interpret it, when we hear things like we have to do this first and then, despite how it sounds, I don't really hear that in a linear Western Eurocentric chronological fashion, or I hear that in an all-encompassing African-centered approach, which is that all at once, everything is everything. So I think for the purposes of that clip or that discussion, which should be seen in its entirety, and the book read in all of Wilderson's work read in its entirety, especially Incognito, which people keep ignoring and wanting to diminish because of the claims around South Africa, really because they're uncomfortable with the politics of the book and what it encourages people to do, which is why I think it's fascinating that people want to ascribe this notion of inactivity to Wilderson, which is just absurd. But so I don't hear it in a sense of just one then the other. But in the immediate moment, especially given what's happening right now, I do think analytically, politically, we do have to say we should be in solidarity with Palestinians getting free from Israel. And we don't need to, in that moment, I think, involve every element of our criticism of how Palestinians in the diaspora or anywhere else engage Africans of the diaspora. It's not to diminish race first or the condition, and that's why I'm saying, that's why I've appreciated what Frank is saying. He's saying, I'm aware through a race first lens where we are vis-a-vis everybody, but I'm also aware on principle that we need to struggle against colonialism and support other colonized communities, and then we have to hold them to account when we're asking for their solidarity to the extent they can offer it. But again, and I'll stop here, but even somewhat selfishly, if we want solidarity from others, we need them to be as strong as possible and as free from the colonial yoke as possible in their own condition, and then which would allow for them to be more helpful in helping us. But and at the same time, yeah. So I'll just stop there. I'll stop there. That's what I think, at least initially.
Okay.
So, I mean, I wonder, since we're talking about should we stay in the realm of, I guess, ball chasers and gladiators in their support of Palestine, and also maybe some of the. So I clipped a couple, I guess, interviews or conversations. So I've seen Breakfast Club, AOC, Karen Hunter, and all of these people.
Oh, I didn't even see Karen Hunter. I can't even imagine what happened over there.
Karen Hunter is on the other clip that I have, where AOC is talking first on Ebro's show, and then you got Karen Hunter, and then I have breaking news, Breakthrough Media, kind of clearing it up at the end. Yeah, Breakthrough News at the But
yeah, their reporting has been very clear. You can send me the links whenever you want me to share them,
okay.
Yeah, is Stoudemire one of those clips?
Well, I didn't.
This is one of the worst things I've ever seen.
Yeah, I didn't do Stoudemire, but I was gonna have to, because I think Floyd Mayweather one is pretty trashy too. But
I didn't see that one.
But you have the Stoudemire clip. I actually didn't even see.
I don't have the Stoudemire clip in front of me, but I can probably pull it up pretty quickly here.
If you go to my Instagram or Facebook, I got the clips on it too.
So you don't want to send me any links? I got to go chase down every single thing.
You ain't got to go chase nothing, brother. Okay. But I'm just saying.
Now I got to be a link chaser. We don't like ball chasers, but I got to be a link chaser. Okay. All right. Hold on a second. Oh, hold on. Wait, we got to add here. Okay. Hold on a second. Let me. let the ad run first. We don't need to share all of that. And then I'll pull it back up here in a second. But here we go. This is some
news out of Israel that Hamas kidnapping children, putting them in
what happened?
Cages, killing women, killing the elderly. That's some coward. That's cowardly. And for all y'all Black Lives Matter who ain't saying nothing, well, let me figure out exactly what happened before I say anything. F you. Figure out what? It ain't never been cool to kidnap kids and put them in cages. It ain't never been cool to kill women and elderly. Never been. No matter where you from, what you represent, what tribe you for, it don't matter. There ain't never been no cool. There ain't never been none that nobody supported.
It's like they're reading the script. I think all of them have kind of the same.
It might be
same realm of thing.
But I think that what we're seeing.
But
is
that's
that,
a lot of tough talk. Oh, my bad. It wasn't. Something was weird with it, not it stopping and starting. But you heard him saying "F you" and all the Black Lives Matter folks and all that, right? Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that Black people, especially in the United States, especially Christian Black people, have been fed a steady diet of from the church and from the political system and just from the culture that solidarity with Israel. Israel is the only democracy. Israel is seeking peace with its neighbors. My grandmother was older than Israel. And she would often, when the issue would come up with her before she passed, she would always talk about, well, they just been fighting over there for thousands of years. So as disappointing and heartbreaking as it is to see so many Black people either aggressively or passively take the Zionist position, it's understandable unless you are either in the intellectual or physical space where that is challenged on a regular basis. I could see why so many Black people have defaulted, and celebrities, even though they're in hallowed rare positions, I think just when I've been talking to Black people face to face and engaging Black people on the ground with this issue, they pretty much are resonating what I think the majority or an unhealthy or an obscene minority of the Black community's conclusions about this situation. Either it's just an ongoing conflict that just has been going on since the time of Jesus, or that that Israel is the victim in this situation, or that it is a war. That two nations going to war with each other, which is also an inappropriate and incorrect assessment.
Do you know what I saw? My bad. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah.
No, go.
But to your point, I haven't read this man's work in years, but I did somehow showed up and I read the new article in The Nation from John Nichols about and it presents itself as a relatively balanced article that accounts for and makes some acknowledgement of this ongoing struggle, and that it didn't. But what it does is very slickly, it mentions the word occupation only twice, and in quotes from other people, putting and submerged within the piece that has already been framed to start the conflict with the most recent "quote unquote" invasion of Israel by the Palestinians. So even in presenting itself as accounting for the Palestinian view, it starts it with the horrors of the Palestinian attack being responded horrifically by Israel. And I'm like, nah, that's slick. But yeah, and Ricky's right. Stoudemire and maybe Diallo, your point about maybe Stoudemire would have been primed for his conversion to Zionist Judaism through the church or some Christian base. But he did convert. He is a converted Orthodox. I think he's Orthodox or observant Jew, something like that.
So he's
but definitely Zionist. Yeah. And it's just absurd. And did he have that same energy for Black Lives Matter, by the way? For Black people? Was he out there saying F the police and F you if you don't support Black liberation?
Well, how could you? How support Zion and support option? So I mean that would be a contradiction. that would be a contradiction. So how, if he's pro-Zionism and he's pro-Israel, then I think he can be applauded for consistency, not supporting the stances of the Black liberation struggle or the Black Lives Matter reform movement. So I think that's something that can't be held against him, because Black Lives Matter and Black liberation are in staunch opposition to Zionism, and always from the giddy up.
Wow. Geechee, I got your page pulled up here. Happy 40th again. And it looks like you got some great clips here of it goes from your 40th birthday to all the radical liberationist leadership that we need.
So the first one right after the birthday it's a shorter one. That's
Linda Sarsour.
Yeah, that start with that.
Occupation of the Palestinian people and to lift the siege on Gaza. This is how we begin to solve this.
Man, tragic event.
As you may have saw in the news, they were talking about how this happened during a rally. I'm not a rally. I'm sorry, a concert.
Music festival. Yeah,
a music festival, and just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know about the politics of any of this, and I don't care when you. When you see all these humans getting killed, women, kids, just innocent people, if that don't touch you in some way, shape, or form, then you ain't got no heart. You just a soulless individual.
And it was really crazy because there was a young girl, she was 23 years old at this festival named Shani Luke. I think it's Luke. She was a German, young German lady there just attending the festival. They beat her up, killed her, and then took pictures with her.
Yeah, I didn't see the pictures, but I saw her mom talking about the pictures.
Yeah, they were like carrying her body around, taking pictures with it. So it's really out of control.
Call for an end to the illegal and brutal occupation of the Palestinian people.
So how did that work? Were they playing Linda?
Prior to when Tesla is on the camera, prior to they play clips from Biden, right? And then they play clips from her, and then they go into like speaking about it. And this mindless journalist, right, can literally hear the lady talking about the politics behind it. Like, you have the politics that you probably support, Democratic politics, which this lady obviously Democratic, but then you also have a different narrative. It's like, well, I don't know the politics. So they're pretty much commenting based off of what they was saying. And then I don't know that guy named Jason or whatever, because they're trying out some different hosts, right? And
because old boy's in trouble. Because Envy. Right, I'm assuming that's why he's not there.
DJ Envy.
Yeah, DJ Envy.
I don't think he's in trouble. He's a victim. He's a victim as well. He's a victim. He accidentally stole those millions of dollars by accident. He didn't know he was stealing it. And the guy, his partner, victimized. So no, Envy came across the line and standing with the other victims of the scam.
I think they tested
out Envy or
Angela Yee session.
No, it's Envy. You got it's definitely
Envy. Yeah, it's DJ.
I get Envy and Ebro. It's all the light skins.
I can't mixed up.
Light skinned Negroes look alike to me.
So since Angela Yee left, they've been.
He looked like DJ Drama to me. I'm sorry.
They've been having guests.
That dude look more like Drama. No, Envy looks to me more like Ebro. I get them confused
Ebro,
all the time.
Drama, all of it.
But Drama, that dude the replacement dude looked more like Drama to me.
Listen, they have to wear a button.
Yeah, Steve, it's hard. I can't keep us the beige folks.
Maybe.
Yeah. we have to sit in proximity to more melanin. Otherwise, I get confused.
Yeah, because I call him DJ Drama all the time. DJ is a victim in this.
He's a victim, all right. He's a victim of hundreds of millions of dollars, apparently. Of other
by
people's
accident.
money. By
Oops.
accident. You're right.
He stole that man. Y'all don't see.
You're right. You're right.
He didn't mean it. He didn't know he was robbing people. Didn't you hear what he said? He stole that money on accident. But all right, back to the.
Sorry, Geechee.
Back to the atrocities.
No, man,
sorry.
have fun, man. Enjoy it.
Even
You
on
see,
your
you're
birthday,
40.
man.
You don't know how to have fun no more. Yeah, you sitting there like an old man. Your
Enjoy it, man.
judgmental stare.
Hey, all I know is, once you get older, you have to take as many jokes as you can. So I'm gonna be like y'all soon. But no, so Angela Yee is gone, and they're trying out different hosts, I assume, or maybe it's a continuous rotating host. Even my young sister from Charleston, Chris Kalen, was on there before. But they just pretty much regurgitating media. They're reading. You can see Tessa reading as she is hosting, but she's reading pretty much word for word from the news. And then even him, the Jason guy, they're talking about the mother who also confirmed that her daughter is alive, and they're saying she's dead. So they're just pretty much repeating the news over and over. But the second clip is a little bit longer, if you can go there. But that kind of goes into, you see Roland Martin and his bullshit, Karen Hunter, and AOC. And the other Democratic Socialist black guy who just got in trouble for sounding a fire alarm. He's trying to stay quiet, but supposedly they all kind of getting some backlash for the New York protest that happened with the Democratic Socialists.
And now we're about to hear a radical analysis.
Cherish, center, value Jewish safety. And also, at the same time, we cannot allow that to be used as the guise for the oppression of Palestinians. And in fact, I would argue, a lot of times, like, people try to approach this through a left-right lens as though justice is the opposite of national security or imperils security. But I actively believe from the bottom of my heart that injustice makes us less safe.
That's right.
And the occupation and the routine violation of Palestinian human rights creates a volatile environment, and it actively distracts us from the safety of our Israeli and Jewish community. For example, one of the weaknesses leading up to this event was that a lot of the IDF was moved from some of the most sensitive and important places to guard, and there were resources devoted to protecting the West, a lot of the settlements, the illegal settlements in the West Bank.
Where do we even begin? First of all, this started with this surprise attack by Hamas.
That's where it started.
Against Israel, some 5,000
Came out of nowhere, remember?
Out of nowhere, right, yeah.
So I want to do this here. A lot of people really have no understanding of anything in this region. So let's first do this here. Explain to folks the difference between Hamas and the PLO. And so when you see people talking about they stand with Palestine, it doesn't mean that they are defending Hamas. So explain to people who don't quite understand this region at all.
Thank you so much for doing this segment. It's very important, and I think it's important to talk to everybody about what's happening, especially folks in our community. And that is a great starting point. You know, we can go all the way back to 1948 when the state of Israel was even founded. This is how far this goes back.
It was an election. And this was when President George W. Bush was there. And there are a number of people who were trying to explain to the Bush administration, do not move forward with this election. Hamas is going to win. So Condoleezza Rice was Secretary of State.
Wow.
They said, no, there's going to be an election there. And that's exactly what happened there in the Gaza Strip. And so what you had Hamas who was saying to people, we're going to provide you food, shelter, things along those lines. We're talking about a territory with about 2 million people, half of them children. 90% of the place doesn't have electricity. You've had the UN Secretary General literally call this an open air prison. And so folk have to understand really what this area is like and really what is going on here, which explains why Hamas has been able to control the Gaza Strip. Go ahead.
I'll give you an example. Think about the Taliban right now being in charge of Afghanistan. You can say they came to power, but they took it, essentially. So we really are talking about a terrorist organization running the Gaza Strip. But like you said, Roland, with over 2 million people in that area. So when we say they came to power, that's a nice way of saying a lot of people didn't have a lot of choice. They were looking for something different because they were suffering. And so this is very, very typical with a lot of terrorist organizations. They will promise. And in some instances, they will actually do the work. They will actually come and feed you. But they also have these ulterior motives where they want to also enact some level of Sharia law, right? And through force. So that's another part of it. So Palestinian folks have been living under pretty extreme circumstances
because of the
since
Israelis and the Hamas Sharia law.
Competing power centers among the Palestinians. You have the PLO. Yasser Arafat was their leader for a very long time, and they were the traditional group. You've got Hamas, as was called,
and Yasser Arafat was called a terrorist
the militant wing. And
now they're rebranding
now
him.
we're seeing stories out of Israel saying that Netanyahu wanted to isolate the PLO and then supports being driven to Hamas to be able to then, frankly, crush both.
And America, if we're being honest, hasn't won a war since. Did we win Korea? Was that a victory? I'm trying to go back. World War II, maybe, was the last time America, like Vietnam didn't end in a victory. So I guess World War II might be the last time America won. But like, war should not be the answer right now. And let me be 100% clear. If Israel falls, so does America. So all of y'all hoping for that to happen. Do you live here? Like, it's not easy, right? It's not an easy conversation. Do you live in America? Do you like all of the things that you like, your gas and all of the things? You think that if Israel falls, that's going to be okay for us? Like, and I say us because I have an American passport. So it's not, to me, like, I don't think there are too many people equipped to really have this conversation today. And I know I'm not. So I'm gonna stay in my lane because I'm not a student of this kind of history.
Well, the media would have you believe that this conflict started 48 hours ago and that it was initiated by the Palestinians. This conflict actually began over a century ago with the birth of the Zionist movement, a movement of European Jews who aimed to create a Jewish majority state in Palestine. With help from the British Empire, the Zionists massacred their way through Palestinian villages, kicking the indigenous Arabs out and moving European Jews in, establishing the state of Israel. This was the only way the reality-defying concept of a Jewish-only state in the heart of the Arab world could be created. Israel controls everything that goes in and out of Gaza, even food. One Israeli politician famously remarked that Israel's policy is to keep Gazans on a diet. 95% of Gaza's water is undrinkable. Israel also controls Gaza's electricity and regularly weaponizes it against Gaza, most recently yesterday.
Did you do that? Why don't I hear anything?
Because this is a clip of the guy taunting Palestinian about his electricity and water and all this other shit.
Oh, okay.
The median age in Gaza is 18, and there's a crisis of suicidality among Gazan youth. Israel murders peaceful Palestinians every single day, and now the politicians, corporate media pundits, and Pentagon war makers who never batted an eye at the daily atrocities of the Israeli regime are trying to convince you that the Palestinians are the violent ones. The Palestinians aren't randomly attacking Israel. They're breaking out of prison. Palestinians have been prisoners of the Israeli occupation for 75 years and are now ripping their cages apart bar by bar.
The necessity to cherish center value.
So I know when sometimes Diallo said it and he's quoting from somebody, like, I ain't the one to gossip, but like, as you see, Roland literally says, tell people about it, because a lot of people don't know, and then he exposes it and he doesn't know. Then Karen on it. Well, I don't know.
You're giving the brother too much credit. He's lying. I think he knows.
Okay, but Karen, on the other hand, who literally says, I don't know. I don't know none of this history. But, right? Now, in terms of Roland knowing, Maybe like
Let me ask you this, Geechee, real quick, because in some of the most grief I've gotten recently is because of the critique I did again of Roland Martin pitching for more funding for Black commercial media.
That's why he acts like he don't know.
And so in that video, I show him going through all his emails and discussion with the McDonald's executives and the General Motors and talking about his $100 million deals. And my point is, so I'm asking you, do you think it's possible for him to go through all of these meetings and take all these meetings and have all this focus on capturing this revenue and not have an understanding of the politics that he's limited to?
I mean, I think the reason why I'm saying is like people make some really, really stupid comments or thoughts, right? And to me, I believe, or I feel like sometimes these people really believe.
Speak
like,
for yourself. I have never said something stupid in my life.
Well, maybe.
So just speak for yourself.
But these people really believe. They really believe what they're saying, right? And so,
but
I don't know. I don't have enough evidence to be like these people know the truth and then they're doing something else. Like
your innocence at 40, just bless
maybe,
your heart. I mean, seriously, for you to get this far, I'm gonna be careful what I say and do around you because I don't want to put your light out. Because for you to really bless your heart to live this long and still have this much.
But when I'm saying about no, like for instance, like people can know of these different things, right? So I wouldn't even when we talk about VanJones and the
Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
Van, I ain't time to play.
But when we talk about that, people who say they were on the left and now they switch over to Trump. I'm not 100% sure that they knew what being on the left meant, or they knew some of the things of the politics of the left. Other than just being there or showing up or liking some type of a rhetoric. So maybe I'm arguing something that I don't know if you could technically prove, but it's really hard for me. Like, for instance, when people say Fred Hampton probably could have been a Black capitalist today, like you can see Fred Hampton is very clear on what he understands of the politics, right? But there might be people around the Black Panther Party, which this Jewish guy said he was, and then they're far right. And I question if they actually ever been over there and they actually understood the politics in a way in which it makes it hard for me to understand how people can switch all the way to the right without having any kind of pattern or something that shows that they never actually was, with the politics in the first place. But again, I could be wrong, and as you said, I could be young and just haven't seen. Like Clarence Thomas. Was Clarence Thomas really radical left?
Of course not.
Okay,
but the question isn't. But this. Go ahead, Diallo.
No. Well, yeah, I could buy that Clarence Thomas was. I mean, people sell out. Treason is a thing. I think our community, we have a lot of trouble with understanding traitors and treason, and people betraying us, and we don't have any traitors. We just have people who don't understand or who aren't as enlightened as we are, or people who need to learn their history. No, I think that people deliberately and consciously say, these are the opposing sides, to join this in order because side speaks to my interest, willingly, deliberately, consciously betraying and undermining and subverting my people or the side of justice. And I don't know which one of them fools said this isn't a left or right. Was that Ocasio, or which one of them said
AOC.
this isn't a left or right thing? Yeah. Ain't no way. This is an absolutely left or right position. And so the fact that people even try to play around and say, well, there comes a time where we have to abandon our ideology for the sake of morality. If you have to abandon your ideology for the sake of morality, then your ideology is immoral. It's wrong. I think in these circumstances, you should lean deeper into your ideology. So this is exactly a left-right conflict and issue and position.
So I think maybe I'm still working around when Jared talks about, not really focusing or trying to figure out on people's intentions and why they come to that conclusion as opposed to the impact. And so I think sometimes I'm struggling with the idea of like this motherfucker really got to believe this shit, even though it's stupid. And you know, it's like for instance, there's people who literally believe revolution is picking up a gun and start shooting at people, right? Not that they're gonna carry it out, whatever, and probably has never even studied or learned or anything. Not, but I also ask, like, when you look at this situation in particular, Diallo, like, how do you feel you respond to it here as you did with what's going on in the Sahel? And I'm asking this also because I'm here at I'm here in Costa Rica, and I was at a Palestine situation or demonstration, and I know these people don't show up for Nicaragua like that, and I didn't hear or see anything about what happened in the Sahel. So how do you compare how people are fighting in the Sahel versus how the Palestinians are fighting?
Well, as I respond to that, first allow me to say that I am pro-Palestine. I support the liberation of Palestine. I stand in staunch and unyielding opposition to Zionism. And if anybody's familiar with my very public voice and my very public statements on the issue over the last more than a decade, would be clear of that. So after saying that, this is not the same as a coup d'etat. They just stated where Roland Martin, in all of his lies, he did state one thing that was true. Hamas was democratically elected by the Palestinian majority. Hamas did not take power over Palestine or it's not even a state, but I think it was better, the PLO, where but whatever Palestine has been reduced to at this point. I don't like the rhetoric around Palestine being a state because Israel is the Palestine state. You know, that is the Palestine is Israel. It's under occupation. So, and then it gives that rhetoric about two warring nations when it is a nation waging war on a people who do not have a military, who do not have military infrastructure, who do not have. But anyway, all that being said, as far as governance or political leadership of the people, they were elected, and to the point where their opposition within Palestine and other foreign agents and interests said we should not move forward with this election because if we move forward with this election, Hamas will win. Now, what's happening in the Sahel is that power was not taken democratically. Whether you agree with the power being taken or not, you cannot argue that it was taken democratically, even if it has popular support. And those leaders, understanding that, are all given timelines saying within 2-3 years, we will have formal elections. So they in terms of taking power or governance, they're not the same. In terms of objectives, we could argue that they have overlapping objectives in terms of throwing off colonial powers. So it could be argued that they're trying to get to the same place, employing different means and different tactics, which also can be understandable because they are different places under even though the oppressors in terms of colonization, resource extraction, subversion of the interest and the will of the governed and all that, they are facing a lot of the same issues. But then in Israel, you have direct settler colonialism. In Africa, you had neo-colonialism, and neo-colonialism is when there are agents or puppet regimes that serve the interest of foreign power. So, like I said, they're trying to arguably get to the same place, but they have to take different paths because the terrain is different.
Jared, you got anything on that?
I mean, not necessarily. I think Diallo makes some good points there in terms of the differences, and yeah. So I don't. But no, I don't have anything meaningful to add to that.
But even many other coup leaders agree with me that their powers have to be legitimized through democratic, whatever form that takes, whether it's a vote or whatever, that they should hold and allow the people, the non-combatants, the civilians, the masses to have a voice in who governs and how they will govern. So even the they agree that they will hold and have made promises to hold elections.
So I don't know if this is a response necessarily to anything Diallo has said. But I think that as I'm trying to work through this myself, I think I can agree that the idea of democracy and people participating is a goal, or should be part of any goal. But if the democratic process either doesn't exist or is not accessible to certain pockets of the population, I am philosophically, at least, fully in line with or unopposed to undemocratic means to assuming power. So, yeah. But I think to Diallo's last point about the paths that people have to take to get to this liberated space are being different is correct. So
I guess maybe a path that VanJones is taking, and so I think the connection between
man,
that brother didn't let me down so many times. Gosh,
he's a crying head. But so the connection to this story, again, Horowitz is how you pronounce it, Jared? Horowitz. So Van on the couch of EYL says how he was in the game, he was doing his things, and Ben Horowitz, which has he has this presentation wearing a Toussaint shirt and talking about how he's performing the revolution in the tech space, but he taught Van everything, him and his black wife, right?
Well, he does have a black wife. Ben Horowitz has a black wife. So
absolutely.
Why wouldn't he be able to teach, therefore, all black people about black everything, including revolution? I don't see a contradiction there.
Right. And so Ben,
once you marry black, you are an authority.
Maybe that's a scientific fact. Who knows? Let's see. But his family.
That's where all my authority comes from. So I don't know.
From
marrying black.
That's where all my legitimacy and authority comes from.
Good job.
He might have a point.
So Ben's family, his dad in particular, David, claims to have been a Black Panther in the Communist Party, and now he's a Trump supporter far right. And he's on record for saying it's his job, right? His Freedom Center is to combating the efforts of the radical left and Islamic allies who's trying to destroy American values and disarm this country. So this is who Van is being, the family is who Van is being primed from.
Just so we're clear, if we could just I just want to just so everybody else is clear what we're talking about. The recent visit to Earn Your Leisure by VanJones, which
working with Jay-Z
it was inevitable.
Inevitable maybe is okay. That's a good.
Let's not act like anybody's acting out of character here.
No, but but again, you talked about Geechee being naive. I feel like I may have fallen into some naivete over just how far this dude has fallen. Like I just don't pay enough attention. Like this dude, the things he is saying in this video are.
Do you remember his commentary after Trump's first State of the Union address?
No, only vaguely.
See,
I don't pay.
Bless you. I don't want to harm your innocence either. I feel like I'm just.
I mean, I don't know where Geechee went, but the notes that I have. I mean, the things he's taught. I didn't even get through the whole video. But my favorite part is that he said he wasn't at the Million Man March because he had the flu.
I wasn't there either. So
I was there.
Came and hang up. We should.
Don't you dare hate on the Million Man
March. Million Man.
Don't you
farce.
dare hate on the Million Man March.
Million Man farce.
God damn it. That's it.
The Million Man Farce. Which march are you talking about? It's been a half dozen of them.
I'm talking about the original,
the OG,
the OG Million Man March.
Y'all the one that set this March Madness. That's the true March Madness.
Me and
did you go to any
the whole
other,
the black rhythm section of Mama's no, the black rhythm section of Mama's Biscuits was there. No, I did the original, and then that was it.
Stamina. Where's your stamina? You only went to one march, so don't sit here and act like you're a march connoisseur.
I
only went to one.
And that's why I'm defending it so vociferously, because how dare you? You better not.
Million Man Farce.
It's bad enough what Dr. Clark said about it.
Stayed home. That's what I was about to say. Me and VanJones stayed home with Dr. Clark to keep Dr. Clark company.
Well, I was there. Me, Minister Farrakhan, and what's my man's name? Maulana Karenga. We was there.
See, Geechee got his name dropping game together, and
the
now
black rhythm section
up.
from Mama's Biscuits was there.
Okay, good for y'all.
But you and VanJones stayed home with the flu. Shameful.
No,
I haven't. And where was Ben Horowitz, Geechee?
I didn't have the flu. I was healthy. I was
Horowitz
a raw foodist vegan. I was working at the food. I wasn't. I was healthy and able-bodied, and comedy did not go.
Shameful.
So Ben was repping IED.
And that's why, and you know what? And I'm sure that's why Felicia showed up at the Million Man March and didn't see you and didn't see Van and ran into Ben and got her man.
Yeah, I'm sure that. Well, listen, I have time. I'm sure Farrakhan, every time his interest payment come up on many of his debts to oligarchs, I'm sure he throws a march every time, the nation approaches bankruptcy. So I'll get a chance in the future.
Man,
I'm sure
shame.
Farrakhan gonna throw 3-4 more marches before it's all said and done. So I'll make it to one. So I got a little time.
So Ben, Ben calls himself a Marxist. No, actually, Ben calls his dad a Marxist and a Leninist still because he's extreme.
I don't think we've fully explained this connection just yet. So unless I'm missing something, but remember, so VanJones brings up the fact in this interview when he's talking about the four corners of power and the need for us to get away from elections and political power and go get the money and start businesses, while he's talking about also getting $100 million grant from Bezos. I like that little slick little go start a business, but don't look at me getting $100 million to funnel into things through Bezos. But through all of this, he talks about his new friendship with Glenn Beck, and then meeting and learning from, because remember, the point here is that, as he starts off with, no billionaires sit around and talk about training, or what was he saying? There's no billionaires don't sit around and talk about how they talk more about
mentorship
being
instead of
mentored.
That's what Jay-Z said.
So right. So we don't need stats and education. We need mentoring. And that's and in that process, VanJones says he met Felicia Horowitz, who is a black woman married to Ben, who in the tech space is teaching us how to take over one of those four corners of power, which is tech. What is it? Tech. I can't even remember what they are. Tech was one of them. And that's why I don't have no power, because I don't even remember what the four corners of power are. But that's how he meets Felicia, and that's how we're now talking about her husband Ben, who is the real revolutionary. Bye, Felicia.
Listen, Ice-T gave the best advice on how to deal with billionaires.
What's that?
Not Jay-Z, not VanJones. Ice-T said, "Don't ask billionaires for shit." He said the best way to deal with billionaires is don't ask them for shit. I keep telling y'all about the wisdom of Ice-T, but y'all want to play around.
Wait, what's the finish it? Don't ask.
That's what he said. Don't ask them for shit. What else you need to know?
Take it. What was the next advice?
It don't. Then you can. That's what you run for. That's the wisdom of Ice-T. He leaves you enough space to grow. Ice-T said, if you ever around billionaires, don't ask them for shit.
Well, Ice-T sound like he had both sides need help with Palestine.
Okay,
That's what he sounded like.
You only 40. You still relatively young, so I can understand. You don't know the legacy. You weren't there.
But so again, Ben is calling himself and his dad. So his dad is on the far right, and he believes he's on the far left, and he's calling himself a Marxist. He's an old Marxist, and just like the dreams of the state withering away, that's what he's doing in the tech spaces. So he says. But again, back to
libertarianism.
But listen, back to the earlier point of you saying I don't believe these people, blah blah blah. Is this guy really a Marxist? Has he ever been a Marxist? Do he even understand Marx?
Shut up, E. Thomas.
For us to be
don't interrupt, Geechee.
He switched somewhere else. Why you interrupt me while reading it? But again, so people like that, how do you feel about allowing them to either speak for the communists, for the people on the radical left, for the Marxists or whatever? Like when they can't really prove that they ever were, other than showing up, taking pictures or whatever the case would be.
They don't need to, and I see. So we do have a special guest coming up in a minute. Speaking of Horowitz's.
Ever since David Horowitz, they got
original, and we should come back and talk about the David Horowitz,
Uno
the
reverse,
original,
the ideological Uno reverse.
That's
but see, this is
see, y'all just keep. I'm getting
wait, David David Horowitz is Ben's dad.
That's what I'm saying.
You didn't make that clear, my man. Dad, you be burying the lead.
His father is the original. He said his father was a.
He said A, but he didn't say V.
Watch this.
He's the original OG Uno reverse on ideology.
Oh my God.
Zoom, Jared and Diallo. Zoom. So maybe y'all didn't hear it, but
you didn't make it plain. You all out of order here. We're going all out of order. You bring it up. I'm like, you should have said that from the jump. We'll come back to that.
If you can go from a communist to a right wing fascist, maybe there's hope in the rest. He shows that people can change. So if they can go from communist to fascist, maybe we can have hope to making fascist communist.
All right, let's
taken away from OG Uno reverse David Horowitz.
All right, on that note, let's
pause.
Right there. We're gonna pause right there and come back with a special guest. And oh man, we gotta get clear on that. That was crazy. Speaking of Mace and Camera, that was crazy right there. That was crazy. All right, back in a quick second.
You got to earn your liberation.
All right, joining us now is Adam Horowitz, executive editor of Mondoweiss.net, who has obviously a platform that engages and covers a lot of what's going on in the so-called Middle East. And we just want to allow you any clarifying statements around the last name and any. No, I'm just playing. Give it up. But no, Adam, thank you very much for joining us. And shout out to Kamal for putting us in touch. I know it happened kind of quickly, but we definitely wanted to make room for you to join us this morning. So thank you for doing so. And I'll just throw a very broad, vague question for you to get us started. You know, how are you all, from your perspective, covering and viewing what's going on today in Palestine?
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity. And just to give people a little bit of background, just in terms of Mondoweiss, Mondoweiss is a news website. We're based in the US, but we have staff based in Palestine. We have a correspondent based in Gaza that I could share an update from real quick. And we have multiple staff in the West Bank. And me, myself, I just returned from Palestine yesterday afternoon. I just happened to be there over the past 10 days or so when everything started. And honestly, when last night, going to bed, thinking about coming on the show this morning, thinking about what I wanted to say, one of my main messages was going to be that we are on the verge of ethnic cleansing. We are on the verge of a genocidal action, the Israeli military in Gaza. And then I woke up this morning, and I don't, forgive me if you've already been discussing this, but Israel's been dropping flyers across Gaza demanding that 1.1 million Palestinians in Gaza flee from their homes, gave them a 24-hour notice before the north of the, I mean, it's unclear what's going to happen, but the threat is that within 24 hours, Israel will just start, and you're seeing our headline now, committing genocide in Gaza. And so it's been very difficult to contact our correspondent, Tariq Hajjaj, in Gaza, partly because Israel, or mainly because Israel has cut off electricity, cut off internet service, cut off water, cut off food, and he is his connection to the outside world is very, very tenuous. The only way that we've been able to continue printing his reporting is that once he finds a sliver of cell service, he's sending voice memos to our staff in the West Bank, who are then translating them, and we're publishing them. But I do want to share what he shared with us this morning. He just wrote very briefly that the situation in Gaza since this Israeli announcement this morning is complete chaos and panic. He himself is based in Gaza City, which is home to about 750,000 people. It is in the area that Israel is saying must evacuate, must leave their homes in the next 24 hours. He says that people are fleeing in droves, thousands and thousands of people heading south in Gaza, which is a very small area to begin with. And he says the problem is that there are no cars to transport people. My God, the situation is catastrophic. And meanwhile, he's sending that to us just to say he's with his family, he's with his elders, he's with his very young children. And the situation in Gaza this morning is completely catastrophic. And we just don't know what's going to happen over the next 24 hours. Another one of the messages that I wanted to bring today, and when I was just in Palestine, I was based in Bethlehem, which is in the West Bank, just south of Jerusalem. And for as hard as it has been to get news out of Gaza, we ran a story yesterday about, there's around-the-clock cable coverage right now about what's happening in so-called Israel-Palestine. Not one U.S. broadcast network has a reporter in Gaza. So, there are around-the-clock breathless reports from Tel Aviv, Ashkelon, Sderot, these different places. There's not one U.S. reporter in Gaza witnessing what's happening here. And that's an important point. But even more so, there's no one telling the story of what's happening in the West Bank. I mean, we're all seeing these horrible images from Gaza, the bombardment. Over 1,500 people have been killed so far. But meanwhile, what's been happening in the West Bank is the entire West Bank is under lockdown. I was in Bethlehem. There was the Israeli military maintains checkpoints around the city. Those checkpoints were all closed. People in Bethlehem could not leave that city. People in Hebron cannot leave that city, in Nablus, in Jenin, in occupied Jerusalem. Complete lockdown, except for the Israeli settlers who are being allowed to rampage and kill Palestinians as we speak. One of the headlines that did get out, and you might have seen, is that the Israeli government is actually distributing machine guns to Israeli settlers. It's unclear how much. The numbers that have been reported are between 1,000 and 10,000 machine guns to, civilian defense teams within the West Bank, which is really just arming these settler militias even more so. And, you go on Telegram, you go on social media, and, this morning there were settlers who showed up in the South Hebron Hills shooting Palestinians. These stories are happening everywhere. I think right before I got on this call, I saw that there have been either 8 or 9 Palestinians killed so far this morning in the West Bank already, which has also been called as a day of protest. So, I don't know. I'm very happy to let's talk.
Sure.
Want to hear your questions, but I thought I was going to be coming here with a warning, and really what I'm coming here with is this is happening. This is news. This is unfolding. There is something I want to say too about what I think some of our role could be here in the U.S. But I don't know. I wonder if there's questions or things.
Sure.
So,
go ahead, yeah.
Well, I hear a lot of rhetoric around Israel retaliation. Can you speak to the original intent? Because I think it is inappropriate and inaccurate to couch Israel's actions in the rhetoric or in the realm of retaliation. So can we speak to the original intent of the state of Israel? Because we can also speak to the atrocities carried out in times of quote unquote peace. Because there's always with West Bank and Gaza where they talk about, well, they would often, in my youth would try to play one side. Well, one side is more peaceful and this other region is more violent. But we find that in the so-called peaceful regions, the expansion and the settlements were more aggressive. So can we talk about Israel's behavior in quote unquote times of peace and the ultimate and original intent of the Zionist movement and the Zionist state? Yeah. And is it really the violence a retaliation, or is it a fixed component of the larger agenda?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I mean, there's a few different ways to go about this. One of the things, again, and sorry, coming back from Palestine, I feel like I've been just slapped across the face watching the U.S. media coverage of this, and I'm just sort of shocked and disgusted by it. But you turn on CNN or whatever, and it's war, Israel, Gaza war. I mean, in part to answer your question, the war has been going on for the last 75 years, if not longer. The war has been about Israeli dispossession, displacement of the Palestinian people as part of a settler colonial plan to take over the land of Palestine. Palestinians have been having to respond to this attack, this war, for all of that time. And of course, it goes without saying that, as in the case of any settler colonial situation, and in the case of, this has been an incredibly violent process. In 1948, around the founding of the State of Israel, over 750,000 Palestinians were displaced from their homes and not allowed to return. It's sometimes you will get into this historical debate about whether they left, whether they were forced off. All of that doesn't matter, because what is undeniable is no matter how Palestinians left, under international law, under these rules and regulations, they are allowed to return to their home. None of them have returned to their home. Me, as an American Jew, can move to Israel tomorrow. My friends who are Palestinians, some of whom have the keys to the homes that their ancestors were forced out of in 1948, are not allowed to even enter the country. And so this is the core of this conflict, is this racist dispossession, displacement of Palestinians that started before 1948, continues till this morning, continues to this day. And that is the context in which this morning's news should be understood. This 1.1 million people, like I just said, in 1948, which is referred to as the Nakba, which translated as Arabic as catastrophe. The Palestinians who are under threat this morning, over the next 24 hours, is larger than the amount of people who were displaced in all 1948. Just to say, in terms of the threat that we're discussing this morning. But I think another part of your question, and a little bit, and maybe it's not, but for me to share, is because one of the part of the discourse that we've heard over this past week was, and I don't even necessarily want to repeat some of the language, but that Hamas did this, Hamas attacked. There was a terrorist attack, and Israel's responding to it. I think there's a few really important different ways to think about what's going on. And so clearly I started off talking, there's a disaster unfolding within Gaza. That's true. There's another part of this story, though, which is a much different story, which is the story of Palestinian resistance going on the offensive last week in the face of this history of dispossession and displacement, and taking the lead. You know, we are used to in this of thinking about Palestinians being under assault, Palestinians being under attack. That is true. But this is also a story of empowered resistance and Palestinians resisting this history that we're talking about. And you'll see, and I'm sure maybe you've already discussed on the show and at different times, but you know, last Saturday when this story was unfolding, there was jubilation in Palestine that Palestinians in Gaza were breaking out of their prison. Palestinians in Gaza have been under siege for 16 years. Everything that goes in, everything that goes out, people, medicine, food, everything goes through Israel. And last Saturday, the walls that keep Palestinians caged in Gaza were physically torn down. That was a historic moment that was about Palestinian resistance. Right now, we're in a moment where we're definitely seeing Palestinian suffering, but the Palestinian resistance is a big part of this story too, and that the Palestinian resistance is fighting, you know, whether you want to say toe-to-toe or what, but is fighting one of the largest militaries in the world with complete U.S. support, and is able to, has not been defeated, is an incredibly, we can get into some of the details in some of this, but it's an incredibly heroic and inspiring story as well. And I think that's an important message for audiences to hear.
Also, can you speak on, I don't know if it's a better way to put this, but Israel's Islamic and Arab allies? There's a lot of rhetoric in the United States about Israel being surrounded by enemies on all sides and hostile forces, and there's not much coverage about the cooperation that Israel and the U.S. receive from Arab majority or Islamic majority nations in its repression of Palestine and its Zionist project, and what are the resources, the money, the weapons that are in exchange for this, so that we can quell the myth or disperse the myth of Israel being this bastion of democracy surrounded on all sides by hostile forces.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think some of the dynamic that you describe used to be sort of more implicit. And it used to be, that everyone knew that Israel was coordinating with Saudi Arabia, that Israel had relations with these countries, that officially they didn't have relations. But one of the things that started under the Trump administration and has only been accelerated under the Biden administration is something that is generally called the Abraham Accords. But what that refers to is the normalization of official relations between Israel and neighbor countries. So, Israel made an agreement with United Arab Emirates, a number of other countries. But right in the lead up to this current moment, there was reporting that, Israel was on the verge through the Biden administration's facilitation of coming to a similar agreement with Saudi Arabia. And one of the reasons that this is important, one, because it sort of just makes clear the relationships that you were describing. But in another part of it is, for going back decades, when it came to any kind of negotiations between Israel and Palestinians, one of the few areas of like international power that Palestinians had in those negotiations was that there was only going to be possible for Israel to normalize its relations with its neighbor countries once there was I'll just say justice for Palestinians. Like the details of that were never exactly made clear, but that was always held out as one of the reasons Israel should reach some type of agreement with the Palestinians. Starting under the Trump administration, that started being taken off the table. And the Biden administration has only not even redoubled, but quadrupled the energy being put into that, which really is extremely, extremely harmful to Palestinians and the Palestinian cause. Because ultimately, if Israel could get everything it wants from these regional relationships without, while they're destroying Gaza, then that is severely hurting the Palestinian cause. And I guess the only other thing I would add to that is in terms of these countries in the region that are forming these agreements, selling out Palestinians and the Palestinian cause, ultimately from their side, their interest is these are arms deals for them. Saudi Arabia wants to be able to build a nuclear program and wants the U.S. permission to do that. Saudi Arabia wants weapons to be able to attack Yemen, other countries. So that's Saudi. I mean, Saudi Arabia doesn't care about Palestinians, but ultimately what their interest is here is getting weapons from the U.S. And they know if they cut a deal with Israel, then the U.S. will be willing to give them weapons. So it's just
okay. And one more thing, and then I'll allow my co-host. I'm sorry, but can you speak to Christian Zionism, the dispensationalist movement, and the prophetic delusions that many in the West have or use as justification, and how that drives Zionism to be more aggressively supported in the U.S. than it is even in the nation of Israel, and also speak to how ultimately the fate of Israel from its supporters is to be destroyed, ultimately destroyed, or the people to be destroyed. So that contradiction where the Israeli state, the Zionists, are allied with people who pray for their ultimate destruction for the furtherance of prophecy. Can you speak to that dispensationalism and Christian Zionism?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, based on your question, I'd be curious to ask you questions about it because I'm familiar with it. I'm not an expert on it, though. But everything you said is completely true. In terms of support for Israel in the United States, it comes from several different sectors, of which evangelical Christianity, Christian Zionists are a very large constituency. I mean, you will hear sometimes, we might be familiar with an organization called AIPAC, which is a Israel lobby organization operating, comes out of the Jewish community. People will say, though, that there's another organization called CUFI, Christians United for Israel, which is the largest Zionist organization in the US. And that is a Christian Zionist organization. I mean, in a way, it makes sense. There's a lot more Christians in the US than there are, Jews. And the ideology that those Christian Zionists are coming from are exactly what you described. I mean, within Christian theology, or at least the Christian theology which these groups adhere to, from my understanding, is that part of that prophecy is that Jews have to return to Israel, to Palestine, before the Messiah returns. And so Christian Zionists have been advocating for the support for Israel from ultimately, for like what you say, from a place, from an ideology that ultimately is going to call for Jews to, whatever happens to Jews during the rapture is what they're hoping is going to happen. From Israel's perspective, they want all the political support they can get. They know the Christian Zionists are really influential in the United States, especially amongst the Republican Party. I think the Zionists in the Jewish community are more influential within the Democratic Party, but the Christian Zionists are definitely more influential amongst Republicans. And from anecdotal experiences I've had from talking with people in the Jewish community, They don't really care what Christian Zionists, what the underlying ideology is, because they don't believe it anyway. So, I mean, they're not really too worried about a rapture that they don't believe in. So right now it's a question of political expediency, and Christian Zionists are an important political force in the United States that is building U.S. support for Israel.
So we were, I guess, briefly talking about the other Horowitz and how they might shift from one way to the other. And I read something, I don't know how accurate it is, but is there some history for you from Zionists to Palestine solidarity? And then how do you see maybe other Zionists or even Israel in support of Palestine? Like what do those numbers look like? How many people? Is it like a large segment?
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. As I got on, I think I heard the tail end of that other conversation, and I was just like, "What are you talking about?" So yes, just to say, I believe that was in part due to about David Horowitz. No relation, not related to the guy. But to talk about myself for a second, and I think some of what you were getting at the question. So I grew up in Philadelphia and the suburbs of Philadelphia in a conservative Zionist household. I mean, I could tell you stories about what I was taught, what I, grew up in a conservative Jewish household. And really, sort of long story short, I mean, me and my path was when I was getting into high school, when I was starting to get politically involved, this was an issue I thought I knew something about, because it's an issue that I've been hearing about my whole life. And then very quickly, first book I read, started reading, I read Edward Said, I read Noam Chomsky, started reading some of these authors, and quickly figured out that A, I'd been lied to, B, that there was a whole entire history that I had never been told. And, as I started getting then politically involved, it was an issue that I got politically engaged in, partly out of that desire to a feeling of accountability that, it is, my community that is helping to facilitate and make this happen. I mean, me, myself, I don't have any family over there. It's a very sort of much more loose connection, but still just knowing like the community I grew up in, knowing the role that the Jewish community in the US has played in building political support, providing material support, and really facilitating everything that we see that is unfolding in Palestine. I feel a personal accountability, and that's partly of what draws me to this, to work on this issue. And just to answer the second part of your question, and I'm sorry, like I just don't have all like the actual numbers right now, but I will say one of the stories that we cover on Mondoweiss is this, what I think like is a very clear generational shift that is taking place, where younger Jews are in the US are showing much more, and of course this was before this week, who knows how everything will get reshuffled after this, I don't know, but we're showing for the first time greater sympathy towards Palestinians in Israel. This was starting to be reflected within the Democratic Party, where Jews are overwhelmingly Democrats. And so there were signs that some of these changing attitudes within the American Jewish community was possibly going to translate into like have political repercussions in the US. But again, I think we are going through an historic period right now. It's really unclear what people will look like coming out of it. But yeah, there was signs before that there is this shift that's happening, and it's one of the stories that we follow.
So speaking of the stories you're following, I was looking at that story you talked about that was published just this morning, that you started off with, and one of my first questions you're saying here on today, Friday, October 13th, Palestinians in Gaza woke up to the news that the Israeli army was demanding that more than 1.1 million Palestinians who live in the northern Gaza Strip evacuate to the southern part of the Strip in the span of 24 hours. And you note here that the UN and others have said that this is humanitarian crisis and impossible. And I was just trying to quickly look over this without trying not pay attention. But so I don't know if it was covered in this story or not. But my first question was, in addition to the impossibility of the call, where are they being said? Where is it that they're going to be? Where are they being suggested to go? Where is it that is expected that they would actually go if in fact they could leave? And then as you do raise in the story, what would be left of the Gaza that they're leaving, should they ever be allowed to return?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different, due to the nature of this being an unfolding story, I think the questions you're asking are the questions we all have. Those are questions without answers. One of the things that Tarek, our correspondent in Gaza, shared yesterday, and this was before this announcement was made, but was that there was already word that people in Gaza were starting to hear that a humanitarian corridor was going to be opened between Gaza and Egypt, where Palestinians in Gaza could go to get away from this violence. And what Tarek was calling that was that is a second Nakba. That is a strategy to get Palestinians out of Palestine, not to be allowed to return, because that has been Palestinian history. That's been Palestinian experience. And just to keep in mind, that was before this Israeli warning. That was just, that was being coordinated with the UN. That was being coordinated with the US government. That was being coordinated with the Egyptian government. That was never officially announced. Who knows? But then this morning we wake up and hear 1.1 million Palestinians north of a line in Gaza need to, Israel sent this, was dropping it from leaflets from the sky and told the UN needs to evacuate.
Which will be also reported, I'm sure, as them acting humanitarily.
That's psychological warfare.
Well, yeah, and your story notes that too. But I'm just
no, and that's
it's not going to be reported as psychological war.
That's how Israel. Yes, and that's how Israel's spinning it. The reality is, and I shared the update from Tarek earlier. There is nowhere to go. There's no way. The roads have been destroyed. People are going on foot. People are trying to escape in any way that they can. But 300,000 Palestinians had already been displaced from their homes, including Tarek and his family. Many of them were living in UN facilities, UN schools in Gaza, and I guess people are headed to the south of Gaza to Khan Yunis and the larger cities to the bottom, and I'm sure will be housed in similar places. I mean, there is no safe space in Gaza. There's certainly now most likely not a safe space in the north of Gaza, but the south of Gaza is no different. That is
just because I'm not sure what our time is like this morning. I don't know what your time is like, but I want to make sure that to at least ask this, that you mentioned earlier, that so what should be done by U.S. citizens, and what, from your perspective, does real solidarity look like in terms of supporting Palestinians?
Yeah. We ran a story, probably it was last Sunday, maybe Monday, but it was from a professor in Gaza named Haider Eid. And he was writing right as the bombing was starting. And his call was, the Palestinian liberation is going to happen through, different ways, different strategies. In Palestine, the liberation is going to happen through resistance movements. But it also needs to include international solidarity. For international solidarity, it means a few different things. One of the most clear and basic calls is what is called the BDS movement. That stands for Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions. That's the international movement to boycott and isolate Israel. And there's many different sort of ways through which that happens, both through, in the US, it's not so much consumer boycotts, it's more what's happening in Europe, but there's other ways that people can get involved in the BDS movement. I would encourage that. I would also say, in this moment in particular, it is extremely important to show public solidarity with Palestine. Palestine is not only being attacked over there, Palestine is being attacked here. I don't know if people saw last week, there was a rally in Times Square in New York City that New York Mayor Eric Adams announced that he was sending the FBI to monitor. In Europe right now, France made Palestine's protests illegal yesterday. Germany is arresting people in the streets protesting for Palestine. Events for just cultural events in England are being canceled by the government, showing solidarity for Palestine. Yesterday, there was reports on social media from different organizations saying that the FBI and ICE is starting to visit Palestinian nationals here in the United States. This is a moment where Palestine and where the Palestinians in our communities and our movements need all the public support that we can offer, both whether it's on social media or whether it's in the streets. And, and more than one person in this past week have said that the atmosphere in the US right now feels like it did after 9/11, when Muslims were being monitored, being forced to register with the government. We all remember that history. Who knows what's going to happen here in the US? But in addition to showing, getting involved in those kind of solidarity movements, which existed, before this week, I think in this moment in particular, we need to be especially vocal, especially present in support of Palestine and Palestinians here in the US.
So I know there's this obviously the smear campaign that you talk about, but other than you guys, are there other sources for more accurate and information that you trust that you would direct people to?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's funny. I should have been more prepared for this question. First of all, I would definitely encourage people to follow Mondoweiss. There are, and honestly, we've also been sort of circulating. If you visit us, especially more on social media, on Instagram, that's where we're also really trying to circulate people who are producing the news on the ground. I mean, one of the things that is important and great about shows like yours, but the mainstream media is not talking about anything that we're talking about here. Internet gives us an opportunity to go around that. So there are other news sources. Another website that's based in the US that I highly recommend is called the Electronic Intifada, which also provides news from Palestine. But really, I would encourage people to be seeking out Palestinians on social media, Palestinians in Gaza, Palestinians in the West Bank, who are reporting what's happening directly to them in their communities, because it's being covered by alternative media here in the US with Mondoweiss and other places, but it's stay away from the mainstream news on this. It's horrific.
All right on. Well, Adam Horowitz, thank you very much for coming through. And big shout out again to Kamal Franklin for putting us in touch. And feel free to reach out again if we can ever help get some information out. Go ahead, Diallo. Yeah, go ahead.
As you exit, there's a lot of First of all, I have to say, whenever I hear about the war against Israel, it's not a war going on over there.
Yeah.
A war is defined by a conflict between two nations or states. And so that is not a war. It's an outright atrocity. And I think we have to stop using that, because in the US, people's ignorance about geography, they really believe there's this country called Palestine that has its own military, its own governments, its own infrastructure, its own laws and parliaments, and that it is mobilizing its forces, mobilizing its military to attack Israel. So I think when we use language like, oh, Israel and Palestine are at war, the Palestinians are at war with the Israelis, I think that feeds into giving cover to the genocidal actions. And finally, we always hear rhetoric about the ultimate resolution, the two-state solution, and so on and so forth. Just as you exit, can you talk to us? What do you think about a viable and just resolution to this settler colonial genocidal project of Zionism?
Yeah.
What would be
I'm sorry.
No, go on.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, and yes, I completely agree with your first point. And I apologize if I use that language. It was unintentional. But yes, I mean, this is, and this speaks to the second point. This in a settler colonial situation, the key to resolution is decolonization. I mean, that's what's going to have to happen here for there to be an end to, the violence that we're seeing, which was ultimately begun as a decolonial act of resistance. These were colonized people revolting against their colonizer, and so that gives the key to what has to happen. I mean, again, just to point to like the BDS movement, and there are different places that, put out, the BDS movement doesn't endorse one quote unquote solution, but it does endorse conditions that have to be met in any solution. And one of those, the main one being the Palestinian right of return. And that is the Palestinians that were displaced in 1948 and their descendants being able to be returned to their homes and lands in Palestine and receive reparations for when it's not possible. Other demands that BDS puts forward are the end to the military occupation in the West Bank, Jerusalem, and Gaza, and equal rights for Palestinians who are living inside the Israeli state. But ultimately, for there to be an end to this conflict, decolonization needs to happen. And I think that's something that is very clear and obvious. And there are all sorts of different plans out there of what that might look like. I don't have one that I endorse. I actually don't think it's my place at all to endorse any of them. That's not my role as someone here in the US. But it is clear, and especially after this week, that decolonization is going to be the only way to end, quote unquote conflict in Palestine, because this is a settler colonial reality, and that reality is what is the core of this of this violence.
Right on. All right. Well, thank you, Adam, very much for
having
coming through.
me. I really appreciate it.
Look forward to having another conversation at some point, and we will make sure to link to all of Mondoweiss. I think I've been saying it wrong for years in my head.
That's fine. That's fine.
But thank you again for coming through, and again on such short notice, and giving the travel. So appreciate you.
Thanks a lot. Anytime. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you. All right, everybody, back in a quick second with more Earn Your Liberation.
You got to earn your liberation.
All right. So do we go back to where we left off? How much time do we all what's the plan? And because we've given room to one Horowitz and to then go back to a couple of others.
Will be a hurl.
Because and he had to make it clear, and I'm glad he did when he said there's no relation.
Time will tell.
See, this guy.
Hey, man.
Listen.
Fool me once.
I mean, we could.
But David Horowitz, though, oh my God,
triple OG.
So Diallo, you can build on this if you like. I would just want to throw out there for anybody who's not clear, David Horowitz, for people for those of us of a certain age, this is somebody going back, for me at least, really into the late 80s for me, as somebody whose name had sort of reverberated around as a one-time popular academic Marxist who made the
saw the error of his way.
saw the error of his way and the lack of resources and funding, and made that heel turn, as they say, and went hard right to become one of the loudest throughout. Again, picking up really, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the mid-90s, picking up like as one of the loudest critics of anything that could be considered left, and was used often as that reformed Marxist who could come in and talk about the immaturity of his past ways. And so now to see that his son,
it's now we got him back. We got another Horowitz. We didn't. Oh.
And it's like an improved version, because now the son got a black wife rocking Toussaint Louverture, talking about liberation. Oh my!
What's worse than him doing that is that we falling for it again. We falling for the same hustle. We falling. What's worse than them doing it again is us following. I call David Horowitz the white Eldridge Cleaver.
Oh man!
Or is Eldridge Cleaver the black David Horowitz? I don't know. I get confused.
I just wanted to just so folks, just so we're this dude here.
Oh,
so then, oh man, so then what? Now I got to start looking into it. So what is the family gathering like when Felicia comes home?
Oh, we fleecing these suckers. You fleecing the right wing libertarian, and now you fleecing the blacks and the liberals. It's they counting tables of money. Turkey grid, just that's what they doing. They fleecing, they scamming. It's the family business.
Wow. I wasn't ready for that.
You think it's tension? You think it's ideal?
Well, I wasn't sure. You're right. You're right. I was thinking initially there might have been some tension, but you're probably right. They were like, no. He probably told his son, keep her, holler at her.
Yeah, it's branding.
We can
get money off both ends, play both sides. I don't think there's any tension at the family gatherings.
Oh man.
There's a let me see. There's a New York Times article that he talked a little bit about how the family gatherings are. I'm posted in the group.
Oh really?
Yeah.
So but then again, so and Felicia Horowitz is she does tech. And this is VanJones's mentor and guide. Oh wow. Okay. So and this was them here. So this is who they were talking about in this Earn Your Leisure discussion as okay, hold on. I got this. I'll bring this article up here. So you're saying what now in this?
So in this article, they talk about...
I can't even look at it. I can't even look at it. I don't have... Wait a minute. I thought... Wait a second. Hold on a second.
Felicia Horowitz looked like the second Aunt Viv. She looked like the bootleg Aunt Viv. I don't trust her already.
The bootleg Aunt Viv. Do you know, by the way, that the sister that they brought in as the bootleg
Aunt
we
go.
Viv, no, I'm just saying she was. All I'm saying is she happened to have. She had been a classmate of the late great Dr. James Turner.
Oh, okay.
Founding director of the Africana Studies Research Center, Cornell University.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
I had nothing to say.
All the good she did and her credentials. Okay, I don't want to hear.
The only good I know of her is that she was a classmate of Dr. Turner.
Oh, that's all I got. Her and her spouse have a history of doing good things in the community, but that don't matter.
It don't matter.
You know,
okay, wait a minute. I got the article. Here we go. She shouldn't have taken it. She should have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That blows up all of her humanitarian work, everything. That just all fall by the wayside when you stole a job.
She can't be claiming Dr. Turner no more, huh? Yeah. One family, many revolutions. Wow. Okay, this is a perfect New York Times. From the Panthers to Silicon Valley. Good God, to Trump, son.
Like I said, shame on us. Fool us once, shame on you. We falling for the same hustle. He following in his daddy's footsteps.
Oh,
and it's still gonna be Negroes shocked and surprised when he comes out as a right-wing libertarian fascist. Watch.
Oh, this is from 2017. Okay. Wow. Was there something in particular, Geechee, that you wanted us to note from this article?
I mean, the article got probably like 15, 11 quotables. So from David introducing
what is this?
Financial help.
Ben,
yeah, that's
how
the
to start a cultural revolution.
Yeah, that's the thing I was just telling you about that you pulled up already with him wearing two-shot shirt and teaching the tech people how to do a revolution in the tech space. But yeah, so
blacks as criminals, blacks as role models. It's hard to get further apart than this. Yet for a country that seems riven in two, the Horowitzes offer a measure of hope. Wow. My bad. Sorry, Geechee.
What is this?
I mean, that's it. But yeah, there's so many things in that article that was interesting. But he did talk about the family dinners and how they kind of stay away from politics. And when his dad came to his college, to speak against his politics, he funded his dad's security. So it's like a lot of weird shit that happened.
I mean, that's pretty much the white tradition. A lot of our white allies go home and break bread with their racist uncles and fathers and aunties, you know. So that solidarity shit, man. I don't think we understand real allyship and solidarity. We play around.
But this is what's guiding Ramparts published Che Guevara's diaries, went after the CIA. David found political soulmate in Panther leader Huey Newton. Oh, wow.
They talking about his daddy.
Yeah. No, yeah. So and David talks about the
Ben is practically black.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, there's like so many quotables in there. But David,
like I said, we allowing it to happen. That's the tragedy.
I mean, it's on New York Times.
Are we allowing it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
are we allowing it?
They out here kicking it with black icons. They out here with the black icons.
Ooh, VanJones and Nas
and Beyonce, Oprah.
So how are we allowed?
Beyonce don't hang with them. You better stop it. You better stop
it.
Either
Beyonce don't hang with the.
You gonna call them class traders, or you gonna call them our people? Which one you gonna do? Is
okay,
Beyonce
yeah, they are. But I mean, we
so
can't deny how influential they are in the community. They are dug in and snuck in. They on the Breakfast Club. Ain't none of us been on the Breakfast Club.
Hold on, I'm with We Out on this one. How do we not allow it to happen, Diallo? Tell us,
by not
please.
falling for the okadoke. By it's that. Listen. All we got to do
too.
Is
Are we though? Are we though?
Yes. Well, when I say we, I mean the black masses. If this dude is showing up on some of the most prominent black platforms and breaking bread with some of the most prominent Negroes, and okay, we sit here in our secured and safe space of black consciousness, but I'm talking about we as a collective, we as a people. So if you individually haven't fell for that okie doke, good for you.
That's what I need, a black consciousness huggle for the winner.
Being able, this character coming out and who is practically black, and the fact that he gets into all these elevated black spaces and breaking bread with all these leading blacks and prominent Negroes. So let me be more specific. There are too many of us falling for it again, because everybody, as our people go, we go.
Before we get into the masterclass, another thing that he said. So David said he gave the Panthers somebody to help them with their financials, and then that person ended up getting killed. And David said that he blamed himself, but also he held them responsible, and Huey confirmed it. But after that, he said the Panthers, he concluded, were thugs dressed up as revolutionaries. But the left was too wrapped up in its dream to be honest about it. So he pretty much saying all of y'all support for the Panthers, y'all was wrapped up in a dream.
Well, that's what's guiding. What's this right here?
We ain't falling for it. I'm saying this Horowitz character from Oprah, Dapper Dan, hip hop culture, black striver culture, the black elites. This guy's dug in with every prominent Negro you can name. All I'm saying is, and we still support those Negroes, and we know the influence they have over the black masses.
Well,
I'm just saying, we as a people, and 4, 5, 6 of us not falling for the okie doke when the rest of our people are going over the cliff. That's nothing to celebrate unto ourselves or in general. That's all I'm saying.
But again, so earn your leisure, right? And masterclass, like I said, we about to get into it. These are the type of platforms or the type of situations that prey off of our desire to love celebrities. Even Van in that situation on the couch said Black billionaires have to be super smart. They're twice as smart than the white billionaires. Like, so the white billionaires, they only know one thing, but the Black billionaires, they know everything. And that's kind of why he set the stage and said Jay-Z is so smart. This
masterclass joint is crazy. I didn't even really get to look at it in our chat. Oh my God.
Masterclass is bugging out. And if I'm going to take a George W. Bush masterclass, I want to know how to commit international war crimes and still be able to hand feed Michelle Obama mints. But still get lap dances from Michelle Obama.
So
first of all, I'm offended they got Sheila E in this joint. I'm offended they got Sheila E there.
And your boy down there.
Cornell. They got Cornell West.
Your boy on there. And your girl,
John
Angela
McWhorter
Davis.
And Angela Davis.
Masterclass is bugging out.
And my man who's the head of the dean, who's the dean of journalism at Columbia.
I told you. Didn't I tell you?
So Jerry, I think some numbers that you might be interested in. So they sell access, right? What they say is they sell access to experts whose bona fides has been proven by their fame and the fact that they're teaching the masterclass. They have 672 employees, valuation at $2.75 billion, revenue of $94.9 million, and subscriptions accounts for 100% of the company's revenue. So they don't have to sell ads. They don't have to try to attract, because they know that our silly ass gonna be like, wait, Beyonce teaching the class? Oh, she talking the truth. They're using the celebrity, and then in terms of the people like Bush, the people who don't need the money, they're doing a PR scam or PR thing to kind of cover up their tracks and make themselves more relevant, but they still get paid $100,000 to do a class. I don't know if everybody's getting paid $100,000, but majority of the speakers or the teachers, they get paid $100,000. So these two white boys are pretty much banking off of our inability to not have a hard-on pause for celebrities and people who've been in the public camera.
Pause. Hey, yo, it's over. Yo, nah.
Something. I don't know with the hairline virus that was turned loose on that stage, but you can't be screaming pause and all that stuff while you got on a purple people eater suit with a diamond Chanel brooch. How's your outfit pause? But you want to call pause? What in the world? Stop throwing them clips up on me, man. I don't watch that stuff in real life, and y'all, why are they wearing fuchsia? I thought fuchsia was banned as a color. I ain't seen fuchsia since 1987. How them cats where they get fuchsia outfits? When the last time you seen that color in public?
Stand up stage.
What is going on? Every time y'all throw them clips up, I thought it was a sports show. So I don't mess with
it is technically a sports show, but sometimes, and I watch more of I don't watch the actual show. There's other platforms that clip their show and have even like pause, like highlights. And the show, so apparently the show has a sports basis. It starts with sports, but
it's just too much. And
it's silly. It is totally
3-second
silly.
clip. My sisters were overwhelmed.
No, I know the contradiction of, I mean, there's so many contradictions.
He was wearing a diamond Chanel brooch on his lapel.
Yeah.
Talking about pause.
No, they're a mess. I admit it's a massive contradiction. I can't stop laughing at that stuff. It's so funny to me.
So Jet, but I I'm curious for your thoughts about that. So again, the 100% of subscription goes to it brings that's the company's revenue. It's through that, but also it is said that they have been able to raise 460 million in venture capital to so like what do you think about that, and then how does that again relate to?
No, look from even what we just saw there. I mean, I think there's a number of different things, and I'll start with my bias from as a low-level, marginalized, barely officially able to claim academic who appreciates academia in its broader, in theory at least, maybe, and not in practice. So on the first thing is we're being encouraged to further devalue intellectualism, study, analysis, rigor, and so on. I think this is an increasingly massive problem, and so this masterclass thing is part of that process. It encourages that just by its existence. It's saying you don't need a university, you don't need an actual professor, you don't need, or we can even bring you professors in clips. You don't even need to take an actual class. You could just watch a couple videos. You don't need any
over 3 weekends.
Exactly. You don't need any. You could just, you can skip all of that and get the cliff notes by watching these videos, by paying us to watch these videos. So that's one thing. But then the other thing politically is that they're clearly doing the same thing. They're reorganizing and presenting to us who are the acceptable thinkers. So even in that clip right there, and I don't know how it was arranged, but in addition to the mistakes I think Cornel West has been making recently, and by the way, I think Ajamu Baraka is
recently.
Well, most recently, I think Ajamu Baraka is incorrect on Afropessimism, but very correct in his analysis of Cornel West. And I think I saw it again with last night on Sundiata's show, where Ajamu ran again the way he was viewing the potential for Cornel West to actually win the presidency. And hearing it again, I was like, I think he might have been onto something. So, but that all that said, I think the newest or in addition to these new mistakes, Cornel West or his people should have said, "Get me off of that picture. You can't have me in a picture, first of all, next to John McWhorter. Angela Davis and them should be saying, look, whatever you may think of me vis-a-vis the actual left or George Jackson, you can't have me lined up next to McWhorter. And you can't have us, but really my point is that the goal here is, again, to tell us, here are the acceptable thinkers, not anyone else, and certainly no one left of these folks. And then they could just sort of restyle and package it, and again, give it to people in cliff notes, in expensive cliff notes perhaps. But it just, again, reinscribes dominant narratives, frames, approaches to politics, lenses, all of that stuff. It's slick.
So the two owners, and I don't even remember the name, but I don't even want to report it, but they talk about how the masterclass is just been this thing of a brand management or to polish people's legacy as images. So you'll see, like Diallo said, you see Bush on there talking about leadership and some dumb shit. Then you'll see the Clintons on there. Both of them got their little masterclass.
So does Kissinger have a class on foreign policy?
I don't know.
I would take that. Yeah.
Barack them has it. Like Barack has one. So they said they're into the entertainment business. So
wow.
Usher has one, teaching people how to perform at halftime and stages. So again, they're preying off of the ignorance of the people, turning it into a business, and again, doing it without having to dance for ads and stuff. They could just get the money straight off of the people.
Sure.
Now, I don't know if they will open up to ads later. That would probably bring in even more money, but I mean, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, that's wild.
Before we go, what Geechee gonna do for his birthday? He gonna turn up?
I don't know. That's a good question. What you gonna do? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait. I just did a quick search. Wait. This is all of this is. Did you notice? Wait, Geechee, did you do this on purpose? Is this all by design? Because Aaron Rasmussen, as one of the co-founders, he's a partner of young Horowitz.
I mean, all the stories are actually interlinked.
Yo!
So if Diallo ain't interrupt us, we'd have been weaving through with different segues.
Yeah, it's all on me. You can continue to tell us how these people are accidentally cooning. They don't know cooning on accident.
No,
the accidental fascist.
I ain't say that.
They don't know no better.
Accidental fascist. That's a good title of something.
They never was radical, and they never was one of us. That's what I'm arguing.
That's a great movie.
They
or
don't know.
something.
You said
no.
Martin don't know no better.
They never was one of us. Is what I'm saying.
Oh,
I wouldn't give them.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Invite to the cookout.
That train of thought. Sorry.
Well, where's the party at tonight, Geechee?
What you getting into?
I ain't getting into that. I'm taking a nap, yo. Taking a nap.
This dude, man. You know the dudes that play low key like that really be getting it in.
I'm drinking Coke.
Really be up to some. What he's saying is whatever he getting into, he can't speak about it in a public forum.
He's also saying, Diallo, what he's getting into, none of us can afford to be at because he's international
he's a
too.
Passport bro.
So
he's about to do
a
the
passport bro.
No, you can afford.
On my birthday.
On my birthday. Well, I hope you have a good one and many more. Thanks to the remixers for coming through. Thanks to Adam Horowitz, and thanks to Kamal for finally contributing in some form or fashion by helping us put that guest together. And anything else you all want to announce?
Tune in next week for the Horowitz Hour.
So we actually are studying as a group Black Power and Palestine. So if anybody interested in joining us, we will be studying that. Yeah. I think Katia Stent is supposed to be joining us too. Look like
Katia Stent.
That's what it looked like. We'll see.
From Katia Stent from WPFW.
I mean, that's
my homegirl, my favorite person. She is easily on my Mount Rushmore of favorite people.
So I hope she'll join us.
Send me a link.
And we got the what John will call her, the smartest African or something like that. We got Ricky Ryan that's supposed to be coming through too. So
obviously the smartest African ever.
But no,
ever don't cut her short.
So definitely, if y'all want to come through, you can come through with that.
Yeah, man, send a link, man.
I got you, bro.
I'm fighting back. This is sad.
What happened now?
Talking study groups and shit on your birthday.
Yeah,
I mean
that's what.
He's not swagging right.
Okay.
He went from
party at Diallo House. We gonna be on.
Y'all don't ever come to my hood.
We gonna be on.
I done came to y'all.
We're gonna drop Diallo's address in the Discord.
Yeah,
you just said you was coming to Chicago.
Who?
On 63rd.
You, Jared, you had told me some lie. You be forgetting what lie. Lie straight.
Well,
I said I was coming to Chicago.
Yeah.
My bad. I'll figure that out.
Remember that you said you had some.
Because y'all interrupt so much. Because y'all interrupt so much.
I left the candle in the window.
Because y'all interrupt so much and don't follow through. Y'all never conceded to my birthday request. Right? We were supposed to do a live show in Baltimore at the Reeds, and y'all ain't.
I was down for that.
I'm down for that. Nobody set it up. I don't know anything about setting that up.
I told y'all.
I'm the one who suggested it first.
You're not even in Baltimore. You're not even in Maryland. Are you even in the United States? When you talk about Baltimore,
I'm closer to Baltimore than Diallo, probably, kind of. But listen, the point is, actually, Diallo, you're not the first person. I was the first person to say that we should do it. But on top of that, they say we give them dates and they ready for us.
Posting.
We'll bring it up in the chat. You don't bring it up in the chat and go to bomb us out live on the show.
If I search this in the chat and it's pull up, how much you gonna give me?
That I put it. Hey, we gotta remember. I said we gotta go christen this space.
Yeah, but that was after I.
See, but you're 40 now. Your memory ain't what it used to be. You gonna get some glasses? We gonna go glass shop. We gonna go shopping with you to get you some.
And then when you gonna go bifocals, that's how you know you old.
Hey, send all my birthday money to Ricky, man.
All right, send the birthday money to Ricky.
Damn.
And
I got.
Well, links forthcoming, but yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for a live, whatever, whenever, wherever. I would rather do it not in Baltimore, though. I want to go somewhere.
Well, we can go somewhere, but Baltimore has the studios.
Oh, right.
Right. We could all squeeze in here.
Pause again.
Mike.
Pause again, man. I've just got.
Pause.
This guy, man. What's wrong with this guy?
Oh yeah. What is wrong with me opening my home?
No, man.
To my brothers. Yeah, what is wrong with me? Something wrong with you.
This guy.
A study group on your birthday. Man, that's why you're single now.
Hey, man.
That's why you can't find nobody. I'm just saying,
man, please.
And nobody want to tell you.
So give me some relationship tips. What should I be?
You already saw.
You got a woman in your life, and it's your birthday, and you be like,
well,
oh,
he's not. He's single by choice.
These scholars and these activists I got coming through my study group.
Put your thirst trap avatar up again, Geechee.
Huh?
Where should I go to find the ladies, Diallo? I mean, I'm obviously not the church. I don't think you advise the church. So go ahead and give me some tips, man.
No, we're gonna open. We're gonna start BPM's dating service. We're gonna have a dating app, a BPM dating app.
First of all,
swipe,
don't
swipe,
go to study.
swipe.
Don't advertise. Don't tell us you having a study session for your birthday weekend.
I ain't told you that.
That's how you start.
That's just your conflating air. So this air is the conflation air, and this is the I don't hear shit air. So
listen, I will mentor you. But I mentor you.
You can't come. VanJones told us there's no come up. There's no come up without mentoring. So
right. So I will mentor you on the ladies. You know, I just need to get a mentor. Pause. I just need a notarized letter from you.
Pause.
So I can give my wife.
Right.
So
yeah.
You see,
I'm out here only. Thank you.
I need a Jegna. Pause. I don't need
wearing cologne and getting the shape up and the shave up.
I don't wear cologne.
And I'm just trying to help you. And show you how to catch.
Yes, sir, man.
All right, fellas.
All right,
peace
y'all.
if you're willing to fight for it, everybody. Like Fred Hampton used to say. Catch you next time here at Earn Your Liberation and throughout the BPM platform. Like, share, subscribe, ring that bell. Do what you can to support us. Put it in your socials. Catch you next time. Peace, everybody.
You got to earn your liberation.